Hey guys, how's it going? It's Danconia here, and welcome back to the Overwatch League Roundup. Stage 3 preview. So, this is going to be a difficult one. And the reason for that is, I'm lacking information. Pretty much. I have been waiting to make this video for ages on Blizzard to, well, the Overwatch League, to announce a map pool or patch number that the Overwatch League Stage 3 will be played on. And it's now the 4th of June, 3 days before the kickoff of Stage 3, and it's not here. So, I can't wait any longer. I've got to do also Week 1's preview. So, we're going to do this. It's going to be largely based on assumptions. Unfortunately. Not much I can do about that. But we are going to do a Stage 3 preview. And it's about bloomin' time. So, I am assuming, and there's going to be a lot of that in this video, I'm assuming Stage 3 will be played on the patch that's live, not the patch that's on the PTR. The meta on live and in the Overwatch League, they're in very, very bad places right now. There's going to be a separate video on that. It's really bad, the meta in Overwatch right now. And I'm not talking about goats, I'm just talking about in general. It's all over the place. So we would expect a lot of goats in Stage 3. That big new McCree is not going to be there. We don't even know whether that McCree will actually make that much of a difference to goats. Is there anything that can stop goats at the top level right now? Not really. You get some multi-DPS comps, but it's not really providing us with a really hard counter to goats. So, yes, you're going to be in for some goats. If we get Paris in the map pool, which I think personally is unlikely. Reason being, well, is it unlikely though? Because Paris, you will get Bunker. That's really, really one of the biggest certainties. Will they put Paris in just to give the viewership a difference from goats? They might do, but Paris was in the Stage 2 map pool, so I'd expect Paris to be left out. Actually, yeah, because they haven't. We might go back to the hybrids from Stage 1. I don't know. It's very difficult to predict map pool because the maps are an odd number. It could be anything. We will see Rialto. Not Rialto. Havana. I'm almost certain we will see Havana, which is the newest map in the game. Havana is. It's an okay map. It's better than Paris. So, I mean, everything's better than Paris. I would expect them to probably drop Rialto, because Rialto's been in both Stage 1 and Stage 2. They'll probably drop Rialto for that. And yeah, the escort map I see them dropping is Rialto because it's been in both stages. In terms of Assault, they will probably drop Temple of Anubis because that's been in both the first two stages. Hybrid, we've had King's Row in both the first and second stages, so I expect King's Row won't be in the map pool. In terms of Control, there's a lot of maps. So what they will probably do is they'll drop Busan. I don't think we'll see Busan in Stage 3. Then we will probably means we'll be seeing Ilios again, I expect. Ilios is a good map. We saw Ilios in Stage 1. And it opens that up to Pharah as well. Pharah and Widowmaker. Less goats, I would have thought, on Ilios, which will be a good thing. Yeah, as I said with the patch, we're not going to see anything different than goats right now. In terms of meta and the patch, that's a whole different video in itself. It's just all very, very messed up right now in terms of meta, so let's not get onto that. There is really not much I can say about the map pool and patch if I don't know the actual information about it. Blizzard. Anyway, we're going to move on to some of the landmarks for this stage. So, Stage 3 will be played from June the 6th all the way through to July the 7th. So, basically exactly a month. The last week will be very similar to when it was held in Dallas. except it will be at the Atlanta homestand. This time around, there will be a lot less teams in action. Some teams will have finished their stage by then. London will be one of those teams, so will the San Francisco Shock, so will the Vancouver Titans. So we will know a lot before the Week 5 matches that will be at Atlanta. But no doubt there will be a hell of an atmosphere there. There certainly was in Dallas. And there will be a lot of people there as well. I know DeFran will be coming back for the Atlanta homestand. And so that should be really good. I know Emong will be there as well. I know it's a 50-50 whether Emong will be there. But there'll be a lot of people there. So it should be a really, really fun occasion at the Cobb Energy Performing Arts Centre. So, landmarks of this stage. Well, this stage should be really interesting. Because you're going to see some tougher matchups for the big teams. Stage 1 and 2, Vancouver, New York, San Francisco. No, that's a bit harsh on San Francisco because they had a difficult stage 1, but stage 2, especially for San Francisco Shock, and even London in stage 2, they had easier stages. So this is where it will all start to get a bit more difficult for these teams. So in week 1 alone, we're going to get to see the New York Excel go up against the London Spitfire. That's a massive match because it tells us where London are, but it also tells us where New York Excel are. We've already found out from the Stage 2 playoffs that New York Excelsior are not up there with San Francisco and Vancouver right now. Are they above London? In the standings they are, but we haven't seen them really go at each other yet, so that'll be a big indicator. Also, we've got stuff like the Vancouver Titans versus the Gladiators. That's a big test of the Gladiators' mettle here to see where they are, because they made some waves in the previous 2 stages, and this is the time where they've got to show us, can they compete with the big boys? Vancouver have also obviously got to bounce back off from their first loss in the Overwatch League against the Shock in the final of the Stage 2 playoffs, so there's a lot of unknowns coming into this. But you've also got some really juicy matchups like the Hangzhou Spark taking on the Philadelphia Fusion in week 1. That should be a really interesting one. The Gladiators also have to play the Dallas Fuel. That should be a really close match. So there's some really, really interesting matchups in just week 1 alone. Then you look ahead at the rest of the weeks. So in week 2 we've got Dallas versus Vancouver. I'm sure Dallas would love to get revenge over Vancouver when Vancouver really thumped them in the stage playoffs. Gladiators versus Philadelphia should be an interesting match. Stage 2 is the weaker of the stage 2. Week 2 is the weaker of the weeks in the stage in terms of high profile matchups, because in week 3 you'll get London versus New York Excelsior again. You'll get San Francisco versus Boston, which I think actually could be quite a tasty match, even though perhaps the standings don't show them matching up quite so closely. In week 3 you also have the Gladiators taking on the Shanghai Dragons. If we're going to see the Shanghai Dragons that we saw last stage, they're going to be quite a formidable opponent for a lot of teams. So that'll be interesting. Chengdu versus Dallas will be another interesting one in week 3. A lot of interesting fixtures going on in this stage. In week 4, we get the London Spitfire taking on the San Francisco Shock. This is by far, stage 3 is by far London's hardest stage. They've got to play Shock, and they've got to play New York Excelsior twice. Madly difficult for Spitfire, but this is the stage I was expecting London to perhaps go 4-3 or something like that. Unfortunately, London did muck up in stage 1, which has put them in a bit of a predicament in terms of season playoffs, but I would still expect them to do fairly well. Also in week 4 you'll have the Gladiators taking on the Vancouver Titans again. Chengdu taking on Seoul is another really close match, I think. Boston versus Philadelphia, that could have big implications, even at that early stage. Dallas versus New York Excelsior, there could be an upset there. I could see Dallas winning that one. Toronto versus Gladiators, this is a stage where Toronto will have to bounce back as well. They've not got the easiest of stages, but they've got a stage where they can pick up a lot of wins. So Toronto have got to play Paris. Well, that's a winnable match. That's very, very winnable for Toronto. They then have to play London. Well, that's a must-win for London, let alone Toronto. Then they play Guangzhou. That's still winnable for the Toronto Defiant. Houston, I think anyone will say a game against Houston is winnable at the moment. Sorry, Houston fans. Gladiators, I think Toronto will view that as winnable. You know, it's a lot. It's a big stage. Stage 3 is a big stage because by this point, at the end of this stage, we could see people that are already out of contention for the season playoffs. Mathematically. So, I'm talking about the likes of Florida, Washington, Houston, perhaps even Paris and people like that. If they don't pick up wins in this stage, they're gonna be out of it. So it's a big stage for these teams. And then obviously the last week we will see the homestand at Atlanta. And the teams in action there, the 8 teams going to Atlanta, will be the Florida Mayhem, the New York Excelsior, Philadelphia Fusion, Washington Justice, Guangzhou Charge, Shanghai Dragons, the Toronto Defiant, and obviously the Atlanta Reign. Yeah, I mean, New York will probably win both of their games. I don't see Toronto beating Atlanta at Atlanta. It should be a fairly easy week for Atlanta, that. But, you know, you can say that before we've even seen week 1 yet, so who knows what will happen in this stage. But I know this is a bit of a weird roundup, this one, because I'm working with so little information, so little concrete information that it's kind of difficult to do stuff. So I thought I could take a bit more of an in-depth look at the fixtures over the stage. Obviously, I will do a week 1 preview coming in the next day or so, I would have thought. If we get any announcement on map pool before then I will include it in that video, but I doubt it, because I'll probably record it today, when I'm recording this one, so it's kind of left me in the lurch a bit, but oh well, we will do our best with what we've got. That is the Overwatch League Stage 3 preview. Overwatch League Roundup Stage 3 preview, I should say. It's going to be a very, very interesting stage. Big stage for London. Big stage for New York Excelsior. Because there are definitely losable games in this stage for the New York Excelsior. Big time. And obviously it's kind of the stage where Vancouver have to bounce back and show us that they've got that grit and determination to bounce back after a loss, because Runaway didn't do that. Runaway didn't do that when they lost for the first time, about a month back now. And can Vancouver do it? Mentally, it might have a big effect on them losing to the Shock in the Stage 2 playoffs. It's going to be really interesting, whether it's GOATs or not. I say whether it's GOATs or not, it's going to be GOATs. The pro level is GOATs. We saw that at the Atlantic Showdown in Contenders. It was GOATs. It was everywhere. But I'm going to leave it here for this one. So, I apologise for the lack of information, but there's not much I can do about it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in the next video. See you then.